Hi, I'm DeLorean, and I am a reader and lover of books. And I have the pleasure of talking with Maz Maddox tonight, who is the author of one of my absolute favorite series, the Relic series. It's about dinosaurs and it's action adventure, and it is so much fun. And I want to welcome you to the show tonight, Maz.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate being invited.
Well, I'm going to read your official bio, which is one of the coolest bios that I have read. So, this is your official bio, and it is Maz Maddox has always wanted to be an author. Well, almost always. At first, she wanted to be a dinosaur, but that turned out to be extremely difficult. Giving up on her dreams to become a towering, how do you say that?
Allosaurus.
Allosaurus, she discovered her love for amazing stories and started writing her own. Maybe one day she'll try that dinosaur thing again. So, how is that dinosaur thing going? Is it your 5 year plan, your 10 year plan?
It's been my plan since I was like 6, but it's baby steps, one foot in front of the other, a little bit at a time. I
And
do have one of those big inflatable like dinosaur suits, so I think I'm going in the right direction.
you only have one. They've got like 10 different styles out there now.
I know I'm falling behind. I've only got the one, and it's just like the standard T-Rex one. But yeah, I need to step it up. I've got to like expand my repertoire.
Well, here is a author suggestion note for you.
Okay.
Do TikTok or Instagram videos in the suit. Could you imagine?
Oh my God. Like I really want to get into TikTok and do all that stuff, but I think I just have a bad attention span. Like I have all the want to do something wacky and fun and get like people to follow me and be fun, but I'm like I start setting things up and then I find myself in the kitchen making a snack. So, you know.
So basically, you need an assistant.
I have an assistant and she's woefully underpaid for putting up with my crap. But yeah, I swear if she was able to like teleport and just like steer me back over to like the setup, I would get so much more done.
Well, basically, that is a shout out to all personal assistants around the world.
Yes, for sure. Charity is my PA and I probably wouldn't even have pants on if it wasn't for her. So she's amazing.
Oh, I think I have run across Charity online.
Yeah, I only really get to see her. She's my virtual assistant. She usually helps me with just planning and things like that. But she's going to be at GRL this year, so she'll be the person probably helping me not be stressed out and lugging books around and being like, "Did you drink something? Like, have some water."
Speaking of GRL, that is coming up soon. Can you
Mhm.
tell people who might not be familiar with GRL what GRL is?
Yeah, so it is a huge, awesome book event. That's GRL stands for Gay Romance Lit. It's a gay romance book retreat, basically. That is it's I want to say like 90% if not 100%, but it's a huge party. It's got I think the first year that I went, it was like 2016. I showed up completely blind. Like I knew what it was, but I didn't know anybody. I had a couple authors who I was really excited to see. I left there with like 10 new best friends. It's one of those amazing communities of you walk in alone and you leave with a whole tribe of people who just want to talk about romance books and gay romance books especially, and you get to meet all these amazing authors, some of course that you already adore, but a whole smattering of ones you've never even heard of, so you leave with like your to be read pile is overflowing. But yeah, it is, I highly recommend it if you like gay romance. It is like the place to be.
Awesome. And this year it's in Virginia, right?
Yeah, it's in Portsmouth. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I think it's Portsmouth, Virginia. I've only ever seen it. I've never heard somebody say it.
And my sister Jennifer, who runs Coastal Magic, is that is in February, and this will be your first year that you are
I am
joining us for that.
Yes, I am so excited to be able to go because this is one of those cons that it's been on my dream list since I heard about it years ago, because it's like where GRL is fun because it's like it's got a big signing and there's panels and stuff. Y'all's is like that, but bumped up. Like there's a vendor fair, and I've heard nothing but great things about the community around it and like the readers who are sitting together in the halls and like reading and chatting and stuff. So I'm like, when I got the invite, I was like if I could do a backflip, I would have. I was so excited. Like I bought my plane ticket. Like I'm ready to go. I cannot wait to go.
Well, as a from my reader self, when I heard that Jennifer had issued the invitation and you had accepted, if I could have done a backflip, I would have done it.
Well, that makes me happy. I'm glad going into it, like knowing that, I have at least one fan there. Like that's gonna be great. So
Well,
I'm very excited to be able to hang out with you guys in person.
yeah, well, I have a feeling you will have more than one fan there for sure.
Let's hope so.
I also run the reading challenge, and they are loving your book. So, a little shout out to the
Great.
challenge folks who are reading your books and loving them so far.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I really like what you guys do as far as organizing the book read-alongs and the point systems and stuff. That's so cool because it gives everybody a chance to like go into this convention having like these new authors that they can't wait to meet and to read or read more of, I guess, because they've already got their backlog stashed. So it's really cool. I really love what you guys do there.
Well, very cool. You are definitely welcome anytime. So, I hear that you have had some real life experiences that inspired two of your most popular series. So, would you like to tell us about those?
Yeah. So I think the first one that I've gotten to talk about before, just a little bit though, is for my Stallion Ridge series. It's a Wild West shifter series with like centaurs and merman and manticore and things like that. But it's all set in like a cowboy universe with sheriffs and bandits and bad guys and things like that. I actually got inspired while working as a 911 emergency call taker inside of the Fort Worth Police Department. And if you're not familiar with Fort Worth, Texas, it is the most yeehaw cowboy place on earth. Like it's where they have rodeos and the stockyards. It's ridiculous. When I got hired on, I got a little Longhorn pin. All of the officers are issued white cowboy hats. I'm not making that up. It's in their trunk. Like it's ridiculous. So I worked there for about 2 years, and I would say like a year and a half into it, I was neck deep in MM at that point. Like that's all I was reading. That's how I passed the time between calls.
Mhm.
And I remember I was messaging my best friend Jess about how I really wanted to start writing, and we started talking about like cowboys, of course, because I'm surrounded by it. But then I was like, what would be really good in a cowboy universe? A centaur. And it was this running joke, and then it turned into a 7-book series. Like it was insane. So it started off as just a joke about yeehaw and cowboys and a centaur wearing a cowboy hat, and it turned into my flagship series that of course I adore. But it's probably just the weirdest, like connect the dots as to how Cal or my centaur came to be. So
Yeah. Fabulous. I see shows on TV where there's like the operators and the behind the scenes folks in like 911 and the stuff like that, and I'm like, that's gotta be so interesting.
Yeah, I will say that the shows are not terribly always accurate. Like I've like the dramatic show of 911 where it's like it's a drama and it's all this cool stuff going on. I would have killed for a center like that, like all that high-tech stuff, and like they can pinpoint exactly where everybody is. I was like, oh man, I want to work there because it is not like that in real life at all.
Oh goodness gracious. Well, I can dream that it's as glorious and as not luxurious.
Maybe in the bigger cities, like maybe if you're working in like downtown California or like New York, where they have to have like big expansive equipment, it maybe is really cool. But like Fort Worth is a huge city, but it's not exactly like overflowing with wealth. So yeah, we're working off of old computers and broke down chairs. So
Yeah. And what about your Relic series?
so my Relic series is kind of my love letter to paleontology. I went to school for paleontology. I didn't finish, but I did for a little while. Go for that. But for a little window of time in my life, I was actually running the social media for the Institute for the Study of Mongolian Paleontology, which their entire purpose is to try to bring stolen fossils back from or back to Mongolia after being stolen. Unfortunately, that country is ripe with fossil theft because the before this institute was around, paleontology wasn't a really high priority for the natives there. Like they knew of it, but it wasn't part of their culture.
Hmm.
But Balor, who's a Mongolian woman, she's campaigned to get a mobile museum brought in and has been teaching the youth about paleontology for years now. And so one of her big cases, and one of the reasons I got involved with them because I love this story. So a couple of years ago, Nicolas Cage bought a Tyrannosaurus skull for like some absorbent amount of money, like $2 million or something
Oh,
crazy, because
wow.
that's when he was going through his like weird buying phase. So he bought it. Little did he know it was actually a Mongolian dinosaur, a Mongolian Tyrannosaurus species that was on the black market, was stolen,
Oh
and
no.
they sold it to him. So of course, Balor, came to America and was like, "This belongs to us. He needs to give it back." Huge legal battle. He lost, had to give the skull back, and it's back in Mongolia now. So
Oh,
it was one of those, like, I don't blame him. He had no idea it was stolen, but it is back home. So that was kind of one of the stories that inspired the Relic series, because the entire point of that series is there are a bunch of awesome dinosaur shifters who fight the black market fossil theft and get them, the fossils back into museums or repatriated back into their home country, because it's unfortunately rampant, and precious scientific, you know, understanding of Earth's history and where we came from. They're, sitting in some rich guy's house because he thinks it looks nice. Like, you know what I mean? Like
right.
that it belongs in a museum. Like that's my whole life.
Yeah. Did you see the couple, what was it, last week or the week before? They found the Triceratops head. I mean, by the time
Yeah.
we hear about it, it's probably been in the dino community
Yeah.
for
So
a while.
fun fact about it, I have to take this off and burn it up. Fun fact about that, I actually got to go. There's a huge convention that they do every year, and it's called SVP. It's a Society of Vertebrate Paleontology, and it's where people working on their research and their doctorates and their latest finds, they go and talk about them. So I got to go for 1 year, and I got to hear about all of this amazing dinosaur news before it ever hit mainstream. So it was all still like in peer review, and I got to listen to debates about whether or not T-Rexes had lips and like just this crazy stuff. But it was like, I want to go back so bad. And so I think I'm going to try to go next year, because I think it's out of like Chicago or something close. I'm not too far from Chicago. This year it's in Canada. So I was like, I can't really afford to go this year. But like, it is so cool. If you were like even a remote dinosaur nerd and like have the money to spend, oh, it is the coolest thing.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Dinah, that right there leads into your show and tell item.
Yeah. So this is one of my favorite things ever. The last URL I went to, I had a reader. Her name is Michelle. She has like a vending booth where she does 3D printing and she makes charms and all this cool stuff. She surprised me with this Spinosaurus skull that she 3D printed, sanded, painted, like the teeth are silver. How cool is that?
That is awesome.
And I totally wasn't expecting it. It made me cry. Like it was just so cool. And it has like a little place of honor at my desk. This is my husband's office, so this is all like horror and stuff like that, which is cool, but not dinosaurs, which is way cooler. So, but yeah, this is my pride and joy. Love this thing. It is super cool.
And something I did not ask you earlier, does this dinosaur have a name? Did you name him?
You know what? I wanted to name him Baja, but I thought that was rude because he's clearly very small and dead. And Baja, I think, would be offended. So I don't have a name for him. Maybe Baja Jr.
Oh, there you go.
But yeah, I was like, I wanted to call him that, and I could just hear him in my head being like, "Are you serious? Like, that is
Oh
not me. I am mighty."
my God, that's great. And you have recently discovered something that is now an obsession.
Yes. So I got completely engrossed into a show called Our Flag Means Death, which is a ridiculous, amazing comedy about these pirates basically just being idiots and like winging it. And I don't want to spoil too much, because if you haven't seen it, I'll give too much away, because it surprised me with one, how funny it was, how sweet it was, and weirdly historically accurate because Steve Bonnet and Edward Teach, Blackbeard, a lot of the things that happen in the show are weirdly actual things that happen. Like if you feel like falling down a rabbit hole, do like minor research about these guys and tell me they weren't a couple. You know what I mean? Like just I dare you. And then go watch the show because it's amazing. But I found, and I don't have the Etsy shop off the top of my head, but I can give it to you to link if anyone's interested. But I got this and it's going in my office.
Oh my God,
And
that's
it says,
beautiful.
it's so cute. It's Blackbeard's Bar and Grill, and it's from one of the episodes. So if you've seen it, you get the reference. It's hilarious. But it's got all of the, there's so much glare, I'm sorry. There's all of the crew is down there with like menu items. And it's cute and it's lovely. And I'm gonna hang it up in my office. I just got a frame for it yesterday. So but yeah, I love it.
Oh, that is fantastic. And I love those chibis. Have a thing for those chibis. I see them on
I
your website.
do. Yeah, I love the chibis. Like when I first started doing merch, I found an artist named Jen Fowler who's amazing. And they have done all of my chibis. I don't know if I have any in arm's length, but I have them all over my website. But I think all of my relic couples have chibis at this point, and then Stallion Ridge, I've got to catch up because I think I've only got Cal and Jesse and Jack and Gideon have chibis, but I haven't done anyone else because I'm terrible. But like I love them. They're cute. They like Jen does a great job about putting the personality into like these cute little squish faces. Like it's so good. I love it.
Oh, that's so cute. So you mentioned your website.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want everyone to see that we have a little QR code behind me, and that will take you to Maz's website. And that's important because if you want to follow along, we're about to do a deep dive into her books. She's got 3 series, 2 that are you've one is complete, one
Yes.
is ongoing, and you just started a new one. So
Correct.
3 series total. And then you've got a couple of standalones. So we'll talk about those. So if you want to follow along, I'll give you a couple of seconds to click on that QR code, or you can just type in mazmaddox.com. And then on my end, I'm going to pin it so it's larger. So I hope everyone can read that just fine. So you started, Maz, with what series? You started with the Stallion Ridge first, right?
Yes, correct. Yeah, I started with Stallion Ridge. The first book in that series is Heartache and Hoofbeats, but if you want to be fancy, you can start with, there's a collection of short stories called the Tales of Stallion Ridge, and it follows a side character from the main series, Jack, who's the marshal and a minotaur, and his ex-partner Gideon, who's a werewolf. And there's 3 short stories of them kind of going through some adventures. They've got a very dynamic relationship that kind of come together and fall apart, come together, fall apart. So it kind of travels through the relationship and where it kind of is left off at the beginning of Heartache and Hoofbeats. So good place to start is there. And then it's Heartache and Hoofbeats, Claw Marks and Card Games, Suspects and Scales. I have to read my own books. This is terrible. Rocks and Railways. There's a novella that's kind of a standalone, but it's better if you read it right after Rocks and Railways, starring another side character because his name is Scarlet and he's insane and wouldn't stop talking to me. And then there's Runes, Ruin, and Redemption, Fate and Fortune, and then I just finished the series with Sunsets and Showdowns. That came out earlier this year, so it's done. I'm finished with that series. It was like I love it, but I'm so weirdly torn about it being done because I can always go back and write short stories, but like having that final book out was like almost a heartache kind of thing. I was like, oh, it's like I'm done with that universe. Like it had a bow, it's done, everything's wrapped up. But yeah, that's the one that's Wild West cowboys and action adventure, lots of gunfights. Each book is a separate set of couples, so each book follows a different couple. But it's an overarching plot line, so you have to read them in order. You can't just read them whenever like out of order, otherwise you'll kind of have no idea what the hell's going on. So, but yeah, that's the one that you have to read in order. There is a little short story called Dates and Disasters that happens right after Runes, and Redemption, another side character situation with a chimera. So it's three personalities in one body trying to date a crocodile shifter. Ridiculous.
Oh, wow.
Highly recommend. It's bonkers and I love it. I've got alphas. No, wait. Allies and Alphas, y'all. And that one's a standalone with werewolves. Very cool. It kind of ties into Gideon's pack of werewolves, but that one's totally standalone. You can read that one whenever you want. It's just cool. I wanted to do a gunfight with werewolves, and it was neat. And then I have a standalone one that's actually set in present day that my reader group voted on the shifters, and it was a dragon shifter. Oh, I don't remember the other guy. It was years ago. It was like 5 years ago when I wrote this. But it was a standalone series, and it's ridiculous. Like they voted on everything that happened, so it was just this chaotic story of like dragon fights, and I think the other guy may have been human. I don't remember 100%, or a werewolf maybe. I don't remember. I have to reread that one. Memory of a Goldfish. This is terrible. That one's fun though. But all of my short stories are free on my website. You can download them. They're free. And then the Stallion Ridge universe is all on Kindle Unlimited.
So when you're talking the short stories, that's the red, the green, the white, and the blue, and all of those are free.
Yes, all of those are free.
Okay. And you can get those on the series page of your website.
Correct. Yeah.
You click the link and it'll take you to like Prolific Works or Book Funnel or some other thing to download. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and then the ones that are the novels in the series, that starts with Centaur on the cover, and it ends with a centaur on the cover.
Yes. So there's a story there, but I won't spoil anything. But yeah, it starts with this one, Heartache and Hoofbeats, and then it ends with a flip of a different centaur, is what I'll say. But yeah, it's very cool. I was very happy I was able to wrap it up. And my cover designer, if you lay the books side by side, they're facing off, which is kind of fun. So
oh, that's so cute.
It's very cool. Something I didn't set up beforehand because I'm not organized. If you line up all of the Stallion Ridge together and stack it, it paints a horizon on the spines, which is really cool.
Oh, that's clever.
Yeah, it's very cool. That was all the cover designer's idea. She surprised me with it, and it's very cool.
Very clever. Very clever. They're very fun covers. They're very striking. They catch your eye right away.
I love them. She's a graphic designer by trade, and she's just brilliant. I love her.
Yeah. Something trope wise that I found in this series is rivals to lovers. Was that intentional, or was that something you found yourself doing?
It's kind of both. It's like I really like rivals and enemies to lovers. That's one of my favorite tropes to read personally, and it's also one of my favorite things to write. I really love the characters who either metaphorically or actually are trying to kill each other, like just absolutely don't like each other, typically going after the same thing, which of course ramps up the drama, and then of course kind of stumbling begrudgingly into love along the way. It's great. But yeah, that's a central theme, I think, for most of the Stallion Ridge books. There are a couple that don't quite fit, like Rocks and Railways is definitely not enemies to lovers or rivals. It's more of like a fish out of water with like a rock god who wakes up and doesn't understand what's going on, and a character has to kind of help him figure things out, and of course sexy times ensue, so it's fun.
Nice. So I know that several people on the reading challenge started with this series, and they are very impressed.
Oh, good. I'm glad. It's one of those. It's pretty niche. I mean, it's Wild West centaurs. I'm asking a lot. Like, if you like weirder stories or like something a little bit more further removed from reality, it's pretty fun. I really enjoyed writing that series.
Very nice. So your next series that you did is the Relic series, right? That's the one those are the dinosaurs.
Yes, my dinosaurs. and it starts with smash and grab.
Mm-hmm.
But you can read these out of order. There's no central theme. Like there's kind of something going on like towards the end of King and Queen going into Lost and Amber, but not enough to where I think you would have to read them in order. You can honestly pick them up whenever, because I think I fill in the gaps pretty well, I hope. But yeah, I recommend starting with Smash and Grab because it's my favorite one, I think, because it's got a Utah Raptor who is a ridiculous wild punk with a pink mohawk who falls in love with a paleontologist, who Simon is the paleontologist, and he's kind of like a weird combination of a couple paleontologists that I know, both in like their work ethic and view on things and like just general personality. So I love him. He's kind of like a bunch of my favorite people rolled into one, and then I made him fall in love with a punk. So
Oh,
yeah, it's good. I really like Smash and Grab.
that's fantastic. I really enjoyed this series a lot. There's quite a bit because of the fossil stealing and stuff like that. There's a bit of a heist feel to these books. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would say so. Like I really wanted it to be dramatic. I wanted it to feel like the stakes were really high. So the people who they're getting these priceless artifacts from are usually really rich, powerful people who dabble in illegal activities, so they're dangerous. I mean, if they're willing to spend millions on black market tyrannosaur skulls, then not that Nicolas Cage is not evil. I'm just going to preface that. But like, if they're willing to drop that kind of money, they typically have crazy amounts of wealth, and that usually comes from like gun trade and that kind of stuff. So I wanted it to be dangerous and adventurous, but still involving paleontology and relics. So yeah, I wanted it to be epic and fun. Like if I could make you excited and also laugh, I think I've done my job. Like that's what I wanted to do with this series.
Well, you definitely made me laugh. It was an adventure. It was fun. I listened to audiobooks, so I was listening to these, and every so often, my sister would be around while I was listening, and I would be cackling. I would be so
Good.
hard. And usually when I'm walking around doing my things, I've got my headset on so that, I'm not interrupting anyone else doing whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
And there were so many times when she was like, "What are you listening to?"
Well, that makes me smile. Thank you. I'm glad. Kurt Graves narrates my audiobooks, and he's amazing. Like he really nails the comedic timing and the voices and stuff. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, he did a great job with the books, and he did a great job with the narration. So definitely a great combination.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then the new series that you just started
Mhm.
is the Wild Contracts series.
Yes.
How's that looking?
So Wild Contracts is a little bit different than my other series, whereas Stallion Ridge and Relic both have a very strong romantic theme throughout. They are definitely romance books. Wild Contracts, the short story that kind of kicks it off that you can pick up if you want to. I recommend it. I think it's great. But if you wanted to dive immediately into the first book, you wouldn't be lost. Kill the Messengers, the short story, that's definitely still a romance. It follows two guys who are friends to lovers kind of thing, and it's ridiculous. But the novel follows Dallas Wild, who's the main character in the series, and it's more of an urban fantasy with a very slow burn romance that arcs throughout the series, throughout the trilogy. There's going to be 3 books. So in the first book, there is some romance and there's some sexy times, but the real romance doesn't really blossom until the second book because he's an idiot, and it takes him a minute to kind of find his footing in the romance because he's so oblivious and hyper focused on being a chaotic idiot. So the first book is focused more on the basically understanding the world and the murder contract and setting up this crazy story that's going to span with the romance. So I like to preface, like kind of warn people, because if you're coming right off of Relic and pick up Wild Contracts, it's going to be a little different. Still very funny, still very action packed. Like I can't not write funny, so I guarantee it'll make you laugh. But if you're going into it hoping it's going to have like an like big dynamic happily ever after, not quite, but I can promise you it'll be fantastic if you just stick through the series or like the trilogy.
Awesome. I um I really love like mysteries and urban fantasy. That is my go-to
Awesome.
99% of the time. I love all of the other genres peppered in, however they're peppered in. So this right here sounds like I just need to dive in and just not resurface until I am done because that's
Hopefully you love it. I really hope so. I'm very proud of it. I really like it. I'm happy that I was able to do something a little bit more darker, something a little bit more focused on like magic and world building and stuff. So it was fun. It was a labor of love for sure. So I'm really excited for people to pick it up.
awesome. Well, and that prequel, the Kill the Messenger, that is available still until the end of the 2022, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
correct. That one is free. The Kill the Messenger is free. It's part of your book Boyfriend's Boyfriend Prolific Works giveaway. If you don't have the link, I can send it to you. You can download that one, and I think there's like 150 other free stories of varying genres and tropes and stuff. So if you haven't grabbed those, definitely recommend it. It'll keep you busy for a while. So yeah, it's awesome.
nice. And then you have three as of right now,
Mhm.
standalones, two short
Yes.
stories, and then one longer novel, right?
Yes, correct. So my first short story is Baby Got Bite, which is a Halloween short story, real small. I want to say it's like 20,000 words, maybe. Um, and it's about a vampire who's very much stuck in the 90s, who is trying to get laid, goes to a Halloween party, and just kind of bungles it. It's really ridiculous. It has way too many 90s references. I love it. I wrote it, I think, the year I started publishing, so it's an oldie but a goodie. I love it. But that one's free. It's on my website. If you're in a Halloween mood, grab it. It's rad. And then Sunny is another free short story, I think about the same length, maybe a little bit longer. And this one's a little different because it's not shifter paranormal or has vampires. It's about two regular guys who find a big salamander thing in a lab that if you touch it, it can read your emotions, or like it can like project your emotions back at you, or it's a weird emotion monster. So it's very much a grumpy sunshine kind of situation. It's a grumpy IT guy who has to pair up with this very sweet sunshiny jock, and they've got to try to rescue this thing. And of course they figure out they both have crushes on each other along the way, and it's fun. So if you want something a little weird, that's the way to go. And then the last one, which started out as a short story, but then I was able to expand on it to make it a full novel, is called Ethan and Jag Destroy the World. That one's on Kindle Unlimited. It's started out as a short story called Demon All the Way because it was a Christmas story about a guy, Ethan, who summons a demon because he needs a date to a holiday party to make his ex jealous because he just got dumped. So, coping with it in a healthy way, he summons a demon from hell so he has a date, but didn't realize it was going to work. And so this demon shows up and is, of course, very pissed off that he's got to deal with this cute human who gives him butterflies and he doesn't like it. And now he's got to figure out what Christmas is. And what do you mean there's cookies? I don't want to make cookies. Like that's the entire vibe of the first part of the story. And then the continuation of it is 9 months down the road, they're dealing with them kind of navigating him still being around longer than they expected him to. And now it's Halloween. So Jag has to learn about Halloween things like costumes and trick-or-treaters and little kids showing up at the door demanding his attention. And of course, the extra added situation is that they figured out every time that they touch each other, something literally apocalyptic starts happening. So like they are in the kitchen and like they kind of do a little smoochy smooch and frogs start raining from the sky and like things like that. So they've got to try to figure out how to undo the apocalypse before hell literally takes over and also make it to the Halloween party.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I might literally expire reading this because it sounds like I'm going to laugh my way through this book.
Dude, I really love Jag. I wanted to write somebody who is so mad that he's enjoying himself. You know what I mean? Like as he's learning more about weird traditions and like baking and trick-or-treaters and stuff, he's getting more upset, but he's still doing it. And it's just really fun.
Yeah. Oh my goodness gracious. I think in the conversation, you answered quite a lot of the themes and the tropes. And I mean, I think you are your best PR person because
Good.
you just made all of those books sound like something I need to go get right now. And I don't think my brain could handle it if I tried to read them all right now.
Well, thanks. I hope I'm not rambling too much, but I get excited. I love talking about books. I rarely get the opportunity to gush about my work other than my husband, who's heard it for 5 years at this point, he's supportive and wonderful, but he's like, I know who Jag is, you know what I mean? So but yeah, I
Yeah.
love that you've given me the opportunity to ramble like a mad woman for a little while.
You know what? I love it. I absolutely love it. And part of why we're doing this deep dive is to bring some eyes to, get into the nitty gritty of some of these books that we all love. And part of it is let's match up the books to the right reader, right? So
Mhm.
for a lot of your books are paranormal. So
Right.
for people who might be a little hesitant for demons and vampires and stuff like that, how do you explain in a general way the demons you have in your various series or vampires in your various series?
So I love the concept of taking things that should be scary and making them human, if that makes sense. Like
Mhm.
I don't have any full on monsters besides a couple things in like Stallion Ridge. They'll come across like a Wendigo, and even then they still have kind of a sentience to them. But like for Ethan and Jag is a demon from hell, horns, red skin, the whole 9 yards. But I didn't want him to just be this evil for the sake of being evil entity who shows up for souls. He's kind of this just tired warrior who wanted a change of pace and now is thrusted into this new adventure that of course he hates at first, but he's experiencing these new things that he loves and are interesting. And he's got this little human that is
Mhm.
adores him and thinks he's wonderful, and he's never experienced something like that before. um and the same thing with like the wild contracts. I've got incubi and I've got vampires in that. And the vampires, there are some vampires who are mindless monsters, like more on the like drone kind of thing. But the upper level or vampires who he has like conversations with, they're kind of trapped in a bad situation, and so they're kind of rolling with it and trying to make the best out of what they have. And the same with the incubi, like they're demons, but not really hell demons, but they're people. They have wants and desires and goals, and it all kind of fits in. Like I very rarely have just big scary things for the sake of being big and scary. Like I love monsters with heart. Like that's one of my favorite things. So if you don't like vampires because they freak you out, or you don't like demons because they can be very terrifying, these are not those guys. Like Jag is basically a giant teddy bear.
Mhm.
He's can be ruthless. He was the champion of the blood wars, but not here now. And on Earth, he's just Ethan's boyfriend. You know, like, I try
He's
to
a
make this.
demon. He's a demon wearing a Christmas sweater.
Yeah, exactly. He's got to wear a Christmas sweater. They have to match. It's an ugly sweater competition. You know, like that's.
Uh,
I love that kind of vibe. I like taking things that should be terrifying and stripping that away and making it fun and warm and wonderful.
yeah, that sounds fabulous.
Good.
So is there anything else about any of the books that you want people to know?
um, Not that I could think of. I mean, I definitely, like I said before, it's humor. I don't take myself seriously. I usually laugh in situations that are stressful, so I try to do the same with the books. Like if the tone starts getting a little too serious, somebody's going to crack a joke. Like it just I can't keep everything terribly serious or very long. I love to read funny things. I like to write funny things. So I pride myself into being one of those romance authors that I hope people read and they smile, and not one of those romance authors who I adore but will rip your heart out and eat it. You know what I mean? Like I can't do it. I'm too nice. Like even reading those like just destroy me. So I have to, it has to be funny. Like we need more smiles.
Yeah. So my last question, which I know, absolutely know, there are going to be people in the audience wondering about audiobooks.
Yes.
Where do you stack up? Which ones are in audio? Which ones are coming? Which anything like that?
Okay, so I've got the first three Relic books are out now in audio. Kurt Graves narrates all of them. So Smash and Grab, Sink and Swim, or Swim, and King and Queen are all in audio now. He's recording Lost in Amber this week. So I'm hoping Tantor Audio owns the rights for the Relic books. So I'm hoping they flip it pretty fast, but it's kind of up to them on when they release it. But usually I'm badgering them so much they go a little fast. So I'm going to be sending an email tomorrow, be like, I know he's in the booth. But Ethan and Jag, I'm actually producing that. Well, Kurt's recording it, but I'm funding that one. It's the first one I've ever bought myself. And I think he's recording that the beginning of October. He's had to shuffle some things around. So, and I'm breezy. So I'm like, hey, move me where you need to. We're friends. So I think he's recording that one soon. And then of course, as soon as he's done, I should be able to just upload it, but I don't really know the 100% of the process, but I think, Amazon's pretty fast about uploading them. So I'm hoping to get it up as soon as possible, because I cannot wait to hear that book in audio. It's going to be ridiculous. And then for Wild Contract, that's probably a little bit down the road, because that book is like 92,000 words and it's going to be expensive. So I got to save up. And then Stallion Ridge, I'm not sure. It's a big series. It's audiobooks are expensive. So tentative on that one. I'm kind of working to see if maybe I can either do like a Patreon or something down the road, maybe get something like that going. But since it's such a long series, I'm going to have to piece that one together. So we'll see.
Oh my goodness. That's fabulous. I know one of the first questions people ask, is it in audio?
For sure. I love audiobooks, so I'm right there with you.
Well, Maz, I have loved talking with you today and diving into these books. I will be reading all of them. It's just, I gotta finish one. I gotta finish one, and I'm just, tell Kurt, fluff him, hey, you're doing great, everything. Get it. He needs to finish this soon, so I can.
Right? Yeah, get him motivated. Like,
yeah.
Don't take breaks. Just go for it.
So, but any social media platform you type in Maz Maddox, they're gonna find you. Is there one that you hang out with and interact with the fans more than any other?
So I'm more on Facebook than anything. But my personal Facebook, I'm usually just talking about my cats. But if you're into Facebook groups at all, I do have a readers group called Maddox's Saloon. That is mostly dinosaur memes and occasional snippets and things like that. So if you're on Facebook, I recommend joining it. It's really fun. The community there is great. I love them. I do have a newsletter that also has like where I post snippets and cover reveals and things like that. So if you're not on social media, newsletter is the way to go. And I only send it out once a month, so I'm not going to bother you that much. But I'm also on Instagram, again, mostly cat pictures, and Twitter. I'm there, but I don't really post much.
Well, everybody, I hope you enjoyed our chat tonight, and thank you, Maz, for hanging out with us. And
yeah, thank you guys so much.
And I'll see everybody next time.